Look guys, I wasn't expecting Sonic Prime Season 3 to be any good. If you've watched my other videos about Sonic Prime, you would know that I just do not like the series at all. So I went into Season 3 with very low expectations. And somehow, I was still expecting too much. If you enjoyed Season 3, then that's obviously completely fine. Who am I to tell you to stop enjoying something? I just personally wanted to voice my opinion on this whole thing, because it's just baffling to me how they screwed it up this badly. Also, spoiler warning, I guess. But first, I wanted to talk about some things that Season 3 actually did right. Yes, it isn't downright unwatchable, for the most part, and there were actually some solid moments in this season. The first few episodes of the season were actually very entertaining. I actually found myself getting invested in the story for a little bit. The pacing wasn't perfect, but it was passable, and Sonic wasn't that annoying, and he actually showed some solid character development for a little bit. And as always, the animation was pretty good, which is one of the only redeeming qualities of this show if you ask me. And yeah, that's about it. After that, it all went to shit pretty much. Let's start with episode 1. This is 100% the best episode in the entire season, because we get to see Sonic and Shadow actually bonding and working together, which I wish we got to see more of, because like Season 2, there are only a couple of episodes in Season 3 that feature Sonic and Shadow interacting with each other. Shadow's dialogue and characterization is still fantastic and perfectly fits his character, and while Sonic is still this whiny brat throughout the season's runtime, it's fun witnessing their two very distinct personalities interacting with one another. And yeah, honestly, that chemistry carried the entire show. Seeing Sonic annoy the hell out of Shadow is freaking hilarious sometimes, but we still witness that Shadow still sees Sonic as an ally, as he even saves his life in the finale. Then we have episodes 2 and 3, and now we get to witness Sonic interacting with the Chaos Council, and yeah, they're still very poorly written. Obviously, their characterization is just to be hip and trendy with the kids, but it's still annoying as hell. Another thing that kind of confused me was that they would always say they would do things like crush Sonic if they weren't working together. Like, okay, what is the point of that? Were the writers just trying to show that they were still evil or something? I mean, that's gotta be it, but the delivery just feels so forced. It's almost like they don't want the Chaos Council to actually develop as characters. It's just really bizarre. Then we have the different versions of Knuckles, Amy, and Tails, and I really have nothing to say about them. I still find them pretty annoying because their dialogue is still very generic and stereotypical. It's just not engaging whatsoever. But they're just side characters, so it's not a huge deal. There was one part where all of the side characters were like, Sonic, you can't defeat 9, he's too powerful. And then Sonic was just kind of like, I'm going, guys. And, you know, instead of the other characters trying to convince him to stay back, they're just like, oh, okay, fine, you go do what you want. Like, what? It's just, the writing is just really weird, dude. And then we have 9, who for a solid minute seemed like a decently good antagonist. He needs Sonic's prison power to complete the Paradox Prism, so he tries to lead Sonic to his base to capture him. When Sonic arrives, we honestly get one of the best moments in the series. Sonic actually tries to get through to 9 with some very good dialogue, and it actually starts working. It's so peculiar seeing Sonic actually have emotion in this show, but hey, I'm all here for it. But of course, we can't have nice things, because this is fucking Sonic Prime, because Sonic's friends actually followed him to 9's base to try and help him, and then of course 9 gets really pissed. And here's where I was reminded of Sonic's characterization in this show. Instead of trying to explain to 9 what was happening, he literally goes over to his friends and was like, oh hey, what are you guys doing here? Oh, you're here to help? Bet. Huh? Did he just forget that entire heart-to-heart moment he just had with 9? Top it off with the cringy chili dog joke, and now we're back to the usual Sonic Prime bullshit. Cue the big climactic final fight, which, you know what? This would have been cool if it didn't last for 3 episodes. I shit you not. A solid hour of this season's runtime is just mindless robot fighting. The pacing in previous seasons was already a big issue, but this is miles worse. They could have easily condensed this down to just 1 episode at most, but no, they just had to fill up the episode slots with filler. It's actually so boring. If they mixed it up a bit by, you know, like revisiting old locations or something, then that would make things slightly better, but no, we have to look at these characters fight the same generic ass robots with the same blue backdrop for an hour straight. At least Shadow shows up in the later episode, but then he just gets his ass handed to him by a Metal Sonic robot, so whoop-de-f***ing-do. It's so mind-numbing. I would talk more about these few episodes, but I honestly don't remember anything that happened, because I don't think anything did happen. Eventually, Sonic makes his way to 9 at the top of the fortress, has a little pep talk with him, and then the world is saved. Wait, what? Okay, so you're telling me that Sonic first talked to Nine was just like, you're not my friend, but when Sonic does the exact same thing a second time, now he changes his mind? After an hour of fighting? Are you f***ing serious? I don't even know what to say, dude. This writing is actually horrendous. Alright, so after that whole thing, Sonic gives himself up to the prism to restore all of the worlds back to normal, which makes him very weak so all the children can go like, oh no, Sonic is dying, or whatever. Shadow brings Sonic back to Green Hill, and then that's it. The timeline gets reset to right before Eggman destroyed the crystal. Are you f***ing kidding me? You're telling me that absolutely everything that happened during the show was meaningless? It was all for nothing? We waited a whole ass year for this show to be completed just for them to say, oh yeah, actually there is no ending, just a silly timeline reset, meaning that nothing in Prime actually happened. What a f***ing joke, man. And yeah, that's literally it. The end. This season was really bad, and I think what made it worse was the fact that it actually started out pretty good, but they just had to screw it up in the end. I would say half of season 3 is decently alright, but the other half is some of the most boring and poorly written media I have ever seen. But yeah, that's it. The show is done. My general thoughts on the show as a whole is just that it's very boring. This show is obviously targeted towards younger children. You know, just for them to have something to watch while they play Roblox or something on their big ass iPad or some shit. But I can't help but think what could have been. They were originally hyping this thing up to be a cinematic adventure with MCU level fight scenes and everything. I was very hyped, but instead we got a generic and lifeless kids cartoon starring Sonic, and that's very unfortunate. Maybe one day we'll actually get a worthwhile Sonic show, but this isn't that. I would give Sonic Prime as a whole a 3 out of 10. I can never see myself going back to the show ever again. But yeah guys, that's going to end this video. Again, if you enjoyed Sonic Prime, then that's completely fine. By all means, do not let my opinions change your mind. I just personally thought the show was just generally awful. But yeah, that's all for me guys, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.